My name is Michelle Armstrong, and I am bringing you our Motivational Monday subject today. I'm going to be focusing on a woman in the Old Testament, the Shunammite woman, in 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 8 through 37. We all know this story. It's about a woman. She was very well known in her town. Her husband was well respected, but there was always something missing out of her life. There was a man, Elisha, and his servant. They came through the town each and every time. They stopped and stayed over the night. After a while, she decided to invite him into her home. She actually created a space in her home, a room, with with the idea that he would be able to lodge there, be comfortable, and then be able to get up the next day and continue on his journey. So she did create the room for him. She put four particular items in that room for him to be able to be comfortable. It was a chair, a lamp, a cot, and a table. So each time that he came through, he lodged there. They enjoyed each other's company, and he traveled on. And then one time he came, it was a particular time he asked the servant, "What is it that this woman has need of?" And he recognized that she didn't have a child. So, a child. So he proceeded to tell the Shunammite woman that this time next year, you're going to bear a son. And she kind of laughed within herself because how could he know that that was the one thing that she had hidden deep in her heart? So he journeyed on, and a year later, she gave birth to a healthy son. Was blessed because of him. He grew in stature, and it came a particular day that he was out in the field with his father, and the father noticed that he wasn't feeling well, so he had his servant bring him to his mom, and she took him in her arms, and as mothers do, we just kind of nurture them, and she realized that he felt a little warm, didn't seem to be doing quite well. So in the midst of it, he died right there in her arms. But what she did was she took him up to the room where Elisha stayed. She laid him on the bed and shut the door behind her. She knew that that would be a place that no one would enter in. So she went out to her husband and asked him to have his servant saddle up a donkey because she wanted to go see the man of God. And the husband asked her, "Is everything all right?" And she said, "All is well." So she hopped on the donkey with her servant running alongside of her, and she traveled to where she knew that Elisha would be. Elisha saw her coming afar off and asked his servant to go and ask her, "Is everything all right?" Because he knew that it was unusual for her to come and travel to him. So it must have been something of urgency that she would be coming to tell him. The servant went out and asked her, "Is everything okay?" And she said, "Yes, all is well." So then Elisha came and she explained to him, "This child I never asked for, and as a result, he is dead." So Elisha sent his servant with his staff and told him to go and see about the child. The servant went on. She traveled behind the servant. He went into the room. He laid that staff on the child. Nothing happened. The child was still dead. Did it again. Nothing happened. The child was still dead. As a result of during this time, Elisha arrived back in the town. And she explained to him, this was not anything that I ever asked for, even though it was something hidden in her heart. So Elisha went up into the room. He recognized that the child was dead, and then he laid his body on top of him. As a result of that, the child became warm. He sneezed 7 times and he came back to life. As we know, 7 is the number of completion. So the child rose. He was doing well at that point. There are a couple of things that we need to point out in the story. The first thing is that when calamity hit her life, the first thing she said to her husband was, "It is well," or "It is all right." The second time she said that was when Elisha sent his servant because he saw her coming and asked her, "Is everything okay?" Her first response and only response was, "It's all right." And that goes to show you who she was in God and how she trusted God. Elisha was a man of faith. That's why she traveled and journeyed to find him, because she knew that he had the ability to hear from God and change her circumstance, no matter what it may have looked at that particular time. And as I look at around us today, as we're going through this global pandemic, it didn't just hit the United States, it hit the whole entire world. But one thing I am comforted in knowing is that nothing hits our life, hits this earth, unless it passed through God's hands first. He gave the okay for it to hit. So therefore, he has already made a way for escape for all of us. When we look at the room where she had prepared for Elijah, the particular things that stood out in that room, because it was only four items. And the first one was a cot, and that represents to be able to rest in God for all things. How are you resting at night? Are you believing and trusting in what God says, or are you getting wrapped up in what we see on TV day in and day out? I know because of the particular profession that I'm in, I watch the numbers, how far, how high they're climbing, how many deaths do we have? I do the percentages of people that have died versus how many have contracted the disease. And so that's sort of like my job, because I'm looking downstream on how we have to prepare for where I work to be able to see a certain amount of patients. What is that outcome of how we're going to bill the insurance companies? So I'm constantly looking at numbers, but I don't look at them in a way that, oh, it is frightening to me or that it scares me. It's just simply knowledge that I have to keep for my job. But can you say that you are resting in God for all things in the midst of where you are right now? Because this woman had a made up mind that there was going to be nothing that's going to move her from what she believed. The second thing was that table. The table represents a place of fellowship prepared for divine visitation. Is there somewhere in your house that you have prepared a habitation for the Holy Spirit to descend upon you? Everyone should have a place in their house where they can commune with God, where they know that they can have that direct fellowship with Him. It may be in a closet, if you may have a room, you may have a basement, wherever that place is that place conducive for God to come and visit and for him to commune with you, because that is important, especially when we're going through particular times like this. You have to be able to have that place where you totally center on who God is and listen to what he is has to say for this particular time or for something that's going on in your life. The third thing was the lamp, which represents the illumination of God, revelation of him to us. What type of light are you shedding on your particular circumstance of where we are today? Yes, we are in a pandemic. We're sheltering in. We don't get to go out to the malls, to restaurants, to visit our friends and family. But at the same time, are you shedding your light upon those whom you talk to, who are going through? There are people that are going to call you that are in dire straits that may not even know Christ or may even know Christ, but they are shaken to their foundation because they may have lost a job, they may have lost a loved one. Are you going to be that light in their life to be able to speak positivity back to them and let them know that it's going to be all right no matter what it may look like right now? It is not always going to be like this. This is where you have to be able to dig your feet in to who God is, and that's based on the word that you've already deposited inside of you. Can you be grounded in him and not let the adverse winds blow and blow you away? Can you stand in the midst of everything that we're going through? And that's something that you're going to have to be able to convey to your friends and your family, because they're looking for you to be that beacon. Are we that light that God needs us to be? And the last thing was the chair, which represents the authority of God in our life. How is it that you are demonstrating who he is in your life? Is it by the kind acts that you do for your neighbors and your friends and your family? Is it you being able to pick up the phone and God has placed somebody on your heart and you immediately pick up the phone, you reach out to them and speak the word of God? And they're like, how did you know? Because you have been spending time with God, because God has been the authority in your life so that you can hear, that you can be able to move and be his hands and feet in the earth. Because sometimes you may be the only Jesus that someone sees that may not even know Jesus, but they know the acts of kindness that you display upon them. Now, when you look at the Shunammite woman, and how her resolve was in her response to when death hit her life. She didn't fall out, she didn't fall apart. She said, "It is all right." How was she able to say that? Because she had a relationship with God and she had a relationship with the man of God. Now, we have to ask ourselves, when things hit us, when adverse winds blow, what is our response? Is our response going to get blown away because of the circumstance, or is it going to be a response of, no, I'm going to dig my feet into this ground because I know that God is going to use me in the midst of this calamity? Now, can you take this, run with it, spread it to the friends that are lost or they're in a dark place, and be that light to them that they can know that today is not always going to last, tomorrow is not always going to be that way, and one day we will come up out of this, but we'll be stronger because of it. This gives us Christians the ability to really show who God is in the earth, because we're not responding to the things that are going on around us. We are standing on the thing that's inside of us, and that is the weight of who God is in our life. I want to continue to encourage each and every one of you, to motivate you to get out there and spread the word. Be able to pick up that phone when God drops that person on your heart. Immediately send them a text, call them, video chat with them, whatever you need to do to motivate them, because they sometimes are in such a dark place that they may be ashamed of the fact that maybe they think that I'm not as strong as I thought I was. It doesn't matter what you may feel. Your only responsibility is to share the love of God in their life, so they know that tomorrow will come, they still will be breathing, and they will be okay coming through the pandemic. I hope you guys are motivated by this word. It definitely blessed my soul, and I will continue to motivate those that are around me and everyone that I am encountered with. Thank you so much, and have an incredible, blessed day.